got a cold front coming tomorrow. You talked a little bit about the power problems. What still needs to be done legislatively to make sure my lights stay on when it gets cold?
Greg Abbott, our governor, has still not fixed the grid. So the gas supply is not protected. ERCOT says if we have a severe weather event like the one we had last February, we will not be able to keep the lights on or the heat running. We've got to get that fixed or we're going to continue to have these problems. We also need to help out the ratepayers because we're seeing an increase in utility bills for electricity and heat, 20 to 50 bucks a month, paying for the mess that they made last year. We got to get this fixed.
How do you do that, though? I mean, what are the steps?
So we've got to weatherize every part of the grid, including, importantly, the gas supply. We've got to look at whether we should interconnect with the national grid so that when we have a power problem, we can draw power from the rest of the country. And then we've got to help ratepayers weatherize and make energy efficient their homes so that we're drawing down less power and helping them out with an investment to make up for the mess that was caused in February. Those are three simple steps that we could take.
CPS Energy raised its rates here, the San Antonio energy provider. That goes into effect in March. Lots of people felt like they shouldn't have done that. Maybe there should have been pay cuts or something of that nature. Do you blame CPS for instituting that rate hike?
You know, I blame the people who caused the power outage in the first place. First and foremost, the governor, who was warned about problems from 2011 and 2014 and did nothing. And then those who profited on the suffering of others. One man alone, his company made $2.4 billion, Energy Transfer Partners, in February on the freeze. He gave Greg Abbott a $1 million campaign contribution donation. So he and they should be paying for it, not the ratepayers here in San Antonio. As governor, I'm going to send assistance back to the ratepayer instead of asking people here to clean up the mess caused by Governor Abbott.
You talked about some of the issues with the mail-in ballot applications here. Have you given up hope that there is a legislative fix to what Texas passed in the last legislative session on the federal side?
Unfortunately, when it comes to voting rights, no one's going to ride to our rescue. It looks like it's failed in the Senate. The president's unable to get this moved. It's now up to us. And so we're asking everybody to do what they can to organize, to reach out to friends and neighbors, help them get registered to vote if they need to get registered, and remind them of how important this election is. It'll literally decide the future and the fate of the state of Texas. So we've got to overcome this with great organizing and turnout.
Beto, my last question is, Republicans have made a strong push in South Texas, in particular, in and around San Antonio, to establish bases here. Why is San Antonio so important in statewide elections for Democrats moving forward?
San Antonio, Bexar County, if you go down to Laredo and then on to the Rio Grande Valley, that's the key for the state of Texas. And those voters have been taken for granted for far too long. We are not going to win unless we show up. So you see me here again in San Antonio, back again in Laredo where we started the campaign, down to McAllen and Edinburgh and Brownsville. These voters have either been taken for granted by Democrats or written off by Republicans. We're going to be there and work to earn those votes so that we can win this race.
Judging by the reactions that we had tonight from the people, it sounded like people were frustrated. Is that kind of what you're feeling as well?
People are frustrated that we can't keep the lights on, that we've been unable to meet this pandemic, and that we're focused on fringe right-wing politics like banning abortion or permitless carry, instead of focusing on schools, paying teachers what they're worth, and making sure that our kids are getting a world-class education. That's not a Democratic Party thing, that's a Texas value. I'm going to be focused on those things that bring us together instead of divide us so we can move this state forward.
Anything you want to add?
It's great to be back in San Antonio. I mentioned earlier, I was here during the freeze, during the power outage, knocking on doors, handing out water. And what struck me at the time is just how generous and kind people are to each other here in San Antonio. We'd knock on someone's door and they'd say, you know what, don't worry about me, but my neighbor is homebound. Knock on her door, see if you can help her out. So this community looks after one another. They take care of each other. I want to make sure we have a governor who feels the same way.
This on the heels of the anniversary. We're about to hit that anniversary.
We're what is it, like not even a month away from the anniversary of when the power went out. We couldn't keep the lights on in the energy capital of North America. We got to remember that. There'll be a reminder on your electricity bill. Look for it. There's a surcharge to clean up the mess they made last year. Let's make sure we never have that again. In order to do that, we've got to change who's in the governor's office, and that's what this campaign is all about.
Thank you, Beto.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.